Hello and welcome to episode 30 of Lost in Chronologically Lost, where we get not one, but two major character deaths in the span of about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I really did not see those coming. And
Most people didn't.
I have thoughts on them. But, before all of that, we start with an episode where I have a guess, and I might be wrong, but the first episode we get, I thought it was a good episode, and I thought that Lost fans definitely really liked this episode for the wrong reasons.
Well, we like it because we love Hurley, and we love seeing Hurley find love.
We love that, and I'm sure they loved what happened at the end then. But no. I think that it seems to me like a certain subset of fans would love the exploration of what if this is all a dream in a way that is just missing the point.
Well, it's funny you say that, because apparently the original script for this episode left it more open-ended as to whether or not this was all in Hurley's head. And the studio executives vetoed that. They said, no. That's not going to happen, okay? It's real. We're not going to let this just be... And obviously it's real because, think about all this stuff with Jacob and the Man in Black. That happened before Hurley was even any part of existence. And they said they had to change just a little thing. Now, there's no record of this anywhere. So this is completely my assumption as to what they changed, right? So the ending, as you could tell, because it's Dave shows up, and the flashbacks were the ones with Dave at the mental hospital.
Of course.
And the ending shot of the sort of stinger of the episode is showing Libby was also in that hospital. I think the original shot would be showing that the slipper really was there. I think that might have been what they were going for, and then they said no, change it. But yeah, obviously...
Well, you just gave me an idea. What if, the shot... maybe this doesn't work, but what if it was something like showing Libby was, also not in the real picture, like Dave wasn't?
Oh, that could have... Yeah, that would have been interesting. I feel like this is... The whole thing with Libby, especially because it so weirdly pans out with her character, as you'll see she dies later. This is also because that's how the episode ends. The episode ends on the shot of her in the hospital while Hurley takes a photo in the background. They never do that. I believe the trivia was the only other time that it ended on a flashback were in the Jacob flashback, because that was a whole episode, and the Richard Alpert flashback, because that was 90% of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, what if because we take it as, oh, she knows him because she had also been there, but then it could have been intended as, oh, he's just imagining things with somebody else who was at the hospital when they were intending it to be ambiguous.
Obviously, it's so weird because we'll see, the way that she convinces him it's not real is that she had personal things happen to her that he doesn't know about, which it would be impossible. And then they try and be oh, but she was at the mental hospital too. It's yeah, but you have 40 other people you could talk to about their personal story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've literally seen so many backstories to the point that it's just we both know how stupid it would be if it was all a dream, obviously. But seriously, imagine Hurley dreams these events on the islands and then whole ass backstories for all of these people, many of which are shit that nobody would imagine. Why would Hurley imagine the weed farm or Thailand?
That's what I was going to go for. Is I would say imagine his backstory for Nikki and Paulo, but then I remembered there will be a time later when he mentions that he liked that TV show that she was on. So that's actually one that he plausibly could come up with. Anyway, to actually start this episode.
Yeah, so
Anyway, to actually start this episode, Libby is taking Hurley exercising.
The things that you'll do for a girl.
Oh, you know what? 100%. If a girl like Libby showed up like that, boom, I'd be running on that beach.
Yeah, make it happen. But yeah, she says, it won't happen overnight, and he says he's sick and he shows her the stash, which she actually convinces him to just change, and they just start dumping it, which I'm like, okay,
you could have shared that. You could have just given it away.
But anyway, things go poorly for Hurley.
Yeah, because as soon as they're done that, and it's like some romantic scene, bam, everybody finds out about the Dharma crate.
And they even like they fight over it, who can control it, and Charlie even suggests that Hurley be in charge again, and Hurley is just like, fuck no.
Especially once he sees Dave again.
Yeah. Also, I gotta mention that, like, Charlie is once again being shown as regular Charlie. There were those few episodes where he was definitely just, like, visually portrayed as Dark Charlie with the hoodie and the Sith Lord framing.
Yeah.
Now he's just back to regular Charlie, so I doubt he'll do anything bad again.
Yeah, I think other than sort of the Claire relationship, I think he's pretty much just back to normal.
Yeah. I mean, we get him helping build a church. They're obviously not making him a villain now.
I think they're having him build a church. It's like his redemption tour, but it's like, okay, sure, whatever.
Well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
it very does.
Dave.
I will say the building of the church very does much remind me of Gilligan's Island, where they would build everything except a way to leave. Like,
I never watched that. I didn't know that was.
I barely know it, but they would build like a dentist's office, and they would build a post office instead of building a ship to leave. Like,
and anyway, yeah, he starts following Dave, and yeah, so for like the first half of this episode, I didn't remember his name was Dave. Not until Hurley actually says it.
Right, and he finds a slipper and he touches it and he goes, "Oh, that's not good." Don't forget,
Hurley also falls in the jungle before finding the slipper.
Right, how can I forget?
I wish we kept like a fall count for everything since they got to the island.
Someone on YouTube has to have made it. I need to look that up now.
Yeah.
Anyways, like, yeah, he touches the slipper, but it's still it's all in his head. The slipper is not there.
It's the whole thing of like, Dave was like, "Oh, are you imagining this?" and hits him, and it's like, yes, you could imagine that.
And if the slipper is actually there, it's because it was from someone on the plane and it fell down.
It's because it fell out of the plane, because lots of things fell out of the plane. Anyway, then we get Locke practicing moving his toes, and his feet still work, so it's just a broken or fractured bone problem.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, we can get you the wheelchair from the beach," and he's, like, "Oh, nope, not about that."
Yeah, no, they still don't know it was his.
Well, some people know it was his.
Rose does. Does anyone else?
Oh, the others will. The others know, because the eye patch guy got records on all of them.
Yeah.
So Henry knows, you know. So they have Ben tied up, who's still lying about everything.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, to get found out 10 seconds later.
I was part of the search party, and he was already dead in the thing, and so I just, like, here's a note he wrote on a $20 bill, which is a very sweet and sad note, and also just shows that Ben is completely bullshitting.
Yeah, and again, this is part of my thing of that he absolutely did not get captured on purpose, because Saeed was straight up going to shoot him. If Anna's reflexes were just a little bit slower, he's dead. Like,
there are a lot of reasons the plans are just ridiculous. He still claims that he didn't kill Henry, and I am sure that he didn't.
He ordered someone to.
Yeah, but he did know Henry's wife's name, so they did interrogate him. And then he starts saying, like, "Oh, if I tell you the truth, you don't know what he'll do." And it's like, you're him.
You know, obviously...
You're not talking about Richard.
I've heard some people say that he's actually talking about Jacob in this situation. And I could kind of see that, but also it's like, no, he's talking about himself. Jacob,
you
know, he has the ego for that.
Jacob warrants, like, capital H-he, like, the extent to which Ben's, like, hyping up someone, but Jacob doesn't interfere, and Jacob is only violent towards the Man in Black, and Richard that one time.
Well, he'll beat you up, and then he'll explain why it was wrong for you to attack him in the first place. Anyway, so Charlie is helping Echo build, well, they don't know what it is at this point, but it's a church.
Yeah.
So, you know, good for, like, obviously we know they're not leaving, so whatever. Let Echo build a church to honor his brother, or, you know.
Hurley is eating, and he's sad, and he sees Dave.
He's eating fish crackers, which, I should note, not meant for human consumption.
Huh. Anyway, then he gets a coconut thrown at him, and I'll give this, just in terms of, like, Dave being like directed and acted as like an entertaining character.
Oh, they
I
got
just
a
like
good
that he
character
does-
actor for this. Yeah.
I like that he does things like throwing coconuts.
Yeah. So he starts.
And I think so. He doesn't really talk at first, and I think that just because they're sort of like building up to it because the flashbacks are happening in between this.
To me, it feels kind of like how when Jack was chasing Christian through the thing, Christian didn't talk because it's the man in black and he's just kind of standing there. It feels like they're kind of doing that same thing, but with
they're making it feel ambiguous before they're like, yeah, he can just talk.
Yeah.
But anyway, he runs by. So yeah, he ran by Charlie and Echo, and
and they're like,
they do not see anyone. They're like, Charlie says like, no, I saw something really funny and ridiculous that I forgot to put in my notes.
Something like a polar bear on rollerblades or something.
Yeah, eating mangoes, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, then Sawyer has some off-brand Oreos, Dharma brand, of course, and he's trying to pull them apart, which...
And he has a terrible
bite
technique.
Oreos.
Like,
well, you can just... Yeah, so, like, Hurley gives him the technique, because Hurley... They're going to make him know how to do it.
To be fair, Hurley's technique also does not work, okay? The real technique is you have to sort of pinch it between your two middle fingers and your two thumbs and let sort of the force naturally pull itself apart.
Okay,
that's what you have to do.
Why are we pulling them apart? You can just bite them. I don't understand this in general.
No. Here's what you do. You take two of them, right? You pull both of them
Why?
apart. Then you eat the two blank empty cookies. Then you take the two that both have the cream, smush it together, and you get a true double Oreo.
Okay,
Because
I'm
the
sorry,
double
but
stuffed Oreos aren't actually
No.
double.
No. I need to make a point here, and that's that double stuff is ridiculous, and I think people are stupid. So are the Thins. The Thins are also stupid.
Okay, Thins are stupid.
A base Oreo has a perfectly fine and tasty ratio of chocolate cookie to cream, and you can bite into it, and it's tasty. You don't need to mess with that ratio.
The
and I don't understand why people
is
try
I would like to mess with that ratio. The issue is that the product that they offer that does mess with that ratio, the double stuffed, it uses a different kind of cream, so it doesn't taste the same.
Really?
You
Wow.
can tell because if you try to pull apart a double stuffed, it comes right apart. The entire cream thing will come just straight off. Won't leave anything stuck to it. It's totally different.
So that they want it to they don't want it to drip when there's too much space. I don't know.
Something like that.
Isn't there extra double stuff?
There's
something like that.
Anyway, do Americans have a level above double stuff that I haven't heard about? Because double stuff aren't actually double. Double stuff is 1.8, not times 2.
Yes, there is mega stuff, and there is most stuff.
I'm sorry. There's what? There's 4 levels. You can get a 4 times stuffed Oreo.
There is literally most stuff.
Just order the cream at that point.
And they look ridiculous. Like, that messes with the ratio, horribly. But this is... And it looks like it is a different kind of cream, because to make that stay together, it would have to be different. But yeah... I think most stuff is, sometimes a limited time thing. Because when I look it up, some of the most stuff packages say limited edition, and some of them say back by popular demand.
Okay, yeah. I don't think we've ever had them up here.
But mega stuff is definitely a thing.
Okay, anyway, so Hurley asks Sawyer for psych meds.
And Sawyer is rude to him and is like, oh, that guy over there, and Hurley tackles him. And
Hurley beats him the fuck up, and everyone is letting it happen.
There's multiple things going on here. First of all, it doesn't matter if Sawyer's a tough guy with muscles and all that in his toned body. Size matters when it comes to fights. A heavyweight is gonna kick the ass of a lightweight. And Hurley gets on top of you, starts hitting you. You can't get him off. There's nothing you can do. Secondly, Sawyer had it coming.
Yeah, and you can even see, Jin is enjoying watching this happen, and Sun has to, yell at him to go stop it. It's great.
The thing is, does Sawyer deserve being beat up for this one rude comment? Maybe. But he definitely just kind of deserves, he's constantly fucking with people and being a dick, and this is a reasonable consequence to that. When Sawyer got shot, I'm not gonna say he deserved to get shot for being a dick to people. But having Hurley
I
get
will
on
say,
top of him and wail
he
on
did
him,
not deserve to get shot by the others. You know, maybe the main crew, maybe. That's a different story.
that's when he stole all the guns, that is a pretty big thing to do. But anyway.
So then Kate,
like, this is a reasonable consequence. Like, sooner or later when Sawyer fucked with somebody, they were just not gonna have it.
So then Kate is mocking him for getting beat up by Hurley.
And Libby goes to Hurley, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And he actually wants to go back to the caves to just be alone and not bother anyone, which was surprisingly sad because, like, before this, Hurley's issues were about his health and his self-control and about wondering if he was crazy. And suddenly you see here that, like, it's connecting to his self-worth and him believing that he just bothers people, and that's really sad. And, like, I really hate to see him think that he needs to seclude himself.
Right. And so he sees Dave again, and basically...
Well, there's a whole thing of the peanut butter somehow falling out of the backpack and breaking open and smearing over stuff. And then Dave shows up.
Yeah, so Dave shows up and basically points out how unlikely everything that happened to him is. That,
yeah,
you know...
And I'm just like... like, okay, in terms of using an episode to, like, show that the dream plot is also stupid, like, the dream theory is stupid, that's fine. But, like, I just feel like the kind of Lost theorizer who would say it's all a dream is not smart enough to realize that this episode is saying that's wrong, and is just going to, like, latch onto this and say, like, see, this episode was right.
Yeah, but I do like that it shows, it's like, oh, how unlikely it is that Hurley gets out, wins the lottery by playing the same numbers that he heard, and then those numbers are also on the island, and also this beautiful girl from the other side comes in and starts falling in love with him, like...
It works that, like, the thing is, the numbers are magic. That's just the case.
Yeah.
But I think it, like, the plane crash happening or Libby liking him, that's totally possible, but I'll give Dave this, that, like, saying that, like, using the numbers that some crazy guy said and winning the lottery with them. That is a fair point by Dave. Right. And then Dave actually apologizes and then says it'll get worse before it gets better. And then, well, that was before he said it was imaginary, but he's basically saying, like, Libby can't like you, that couldn't be real. And that just feels like, I don't know if Dave's a dead person or Hurley's imagination, but it definitely feels like that is the part of Hurley who was telling him, like, no, good things can't happen to you. And in that sense, we all gotta silence our inner Dave.
Right, especially because now Dave is like, hey, throw yourself off this cliff and ooh, it'll all work out.
Yeah, there's kind of some subtext there that is really sad.
I don't even think that's subtext. That's text.
Yeah. Like, Dave may be framing it as a positive thing and a way out, and I think most people who go through that aren't literally thinking that they're in a dream, but it is definitely, like, deeply paralleling suicidal thoughts and escape from things, and that is just...
Yeah, though it does make it clear where Hurley's like, you want me to kill myself? And he's like, no, you're not gonna die. You're gonna wake up. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
which it hits. But anyway, Dave just jumps off, and I mean, he can survive it. He's not fucking real.
Yeah. So we have Locke going to talk to Ben, who still won't say what his name is. And we get a line that I feel is like their attempt to be like, oh, this is actually part of his master plan when he's manipulating Locke. But I think it's real, where he says, what possible reason could I have for putting myself through all this? Which is...
Yeah, I just think it doesn't make sense either way.
Yeah, it's weird. And he lies and says that he didn't push the button, but we know what happens when you don't push the button, and that was not it. So...
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, okay, we do know that the button caused the plane, so it does release an EMP and all that. And I think when we saw...
Well, when we saw it with Desmond, the whole ground and everything was shaking and going crazy.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, when we saw the others at that time too, it was also shaking.
Yeah, like it was affecting them
But-
all the way there. Like if Locke didn't feel it
So, yes,
5 feet away,
but other than that, knowing that it does make things shake, because you can't see an EMP. Sometimes the EMP will happen, but there just won't be a plane above the island.
exactly.
But other than the shaking, I just feel like, in terms of how electromagnetism actually works, and things just discharging, what Ben says happened, I think, would have been entirely realistic. Like, I would have believed him just because, like, I honestly wouldn't think anything crazier. Well, I'm also using the past knowledge that it's a bunch of electromagnetism when like Locke and Jack don't actually know it's electromagnetism, so it's fair for Locke to not believe him.
Right. Ben even has a line of saying, like, oh, no, this isn't a lie. I'm done lying. Spoiler alert, he's not done lying.
Yeah. Anyway, Libby finds Hurley, and there's a little funny scene of, like, it's like, how did you find me? And she says Jin saw him while fishing, and he's like, he doesn't speak English, which feels like he's trying to call out a plot hole in his dream, but it's just like, no, Sun was there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he doesn't believe anything's real, so Libby, tells the backstory of what she did, and it's like, what was the guy's name? And he doesn't know, and she's like, yeah, because it happened to me. Like,
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, you could dream yourself not knowing something, but then just make up what the other person says, but I mean, it does work to convince Hurley, so I'm happy about that.
yeah, so, and then they kiss, which is lovely.
Yeah, and it's nice that, like, he was saying, like, this can't be real, no girl like you would like me, and she actually likes him, because, like, thinking that it can't happen is actually just wrong. But yeah, though, that is
it's
a
the
great
it's the
episode.
Survivor
I think
effect.
that a lot of late season...
You see this on Survivor, you see this on Big Brother. When you're just locked up in a place and the pickings are slim, you got a lot better chances.
Look, the pickings aren't that slim, as we even see in a webisode later. I think
Okay, come on. Who's picking Frogurt over Hurley? Let's be real here.
But I think that she does like he is a nice person, a fun person. They get along. Like, that is real.
I also think he's got that island hot going on, which is, if you watch Survivor, it's a thing of some people in real life not that hot, but then you spend a couple weeks on an island, and it's like, oh, you're looking better now for some reason. Like,
yeah, but I mean, they just from the start of them talking, doing laundry, they had chemistry.
That's true.
But anyway,
back at the others camp, the fake others camp.
Well, I want to talk about that episode because obviously, what we get next is from a flashback.
Yes.
But it was a good episode, and I feel like a lot of late season 2 feels like it's spinning its wheels. Early season 2 as well, and even some season 1. They're killing time, they're spinning their wheels, and this didn't progress the plot, but it worked because it was just a good focus episode on a... Sure, this didn't progress a ton, but as long as the character work is good enough, it feels like a worthwhile episode. And that's what this was. So, like, yeah, it was, in some sense, killing time before the finale can happen, but, like, that's okay. You can do that if you're writing good stuff.
Yeah, again, this isn't to say that I think all of Season 2 is bad, but I think that...
Season 2 has had lots of good stuff.
I think that, again, in the original order of Season 2, I think that from Shannon dying / the 48 days flashback where we see what happened to the other survivors. I think from then until Michael shows back up is not that it's not that good. It kind of spins its wheels. It's not really progressing that much.
This episode is the exception, or at least, I mean, it doesn't progress that much, but it was worthwhile. So then, and I mean, Frank, I have another point about how Season 2 is plotted, but I want to talk about that at a specific point later. Actually, maybe soon. But anyway, yeah, we get Michael. He thinks they're just going to kill him because he's been there a week. They ask him questions he doesn't know the answers to. And he thinks Walt is dead. And the woman explains that one of their people was captured and they want to have an exchange.
Well, that's
Well,
that's not what they say.
point-
They say we're gonna send you to go
Yeah.
get him back. That's not an exchange.
It's technically an exchange. I mean, the exchange is occurring, just like not by choice of the main cast. But anyway, it definitely feels like why not just approach them and offer a prisoner exchange, or like why not just lure them with that offer and then take them, or why not just do any kind of other things to get Jack to do the surgery. But I mean, yeah, season 2 plotting.
You know, they let him talk to Walt for just a little. She says 3 minutes, but it ends up being like 5 seconds.
He does get to see Walt, and
Walt, who's shrouded in shadow, so you can't see how tall he is now.
he's looking older.
Yeah,
he is looking older. But anyway, they make him take tests, and he tells Walt that Vincent's good, and Walt says they aren't who they say they are. They're pretending, and he's referring to the Dharma base. I think they aren't jungle people. But that gives me the question. Was this flashback during season 2?
This was during season 2.
I think that makes more sense because I don't know if we'll have Michael in season 3. Spoiler. And that's something I started thinking about later. But that does make more sense. But it definitely, I do like that they started to set that up here. It wasn't just out of nowhere in season 3.
Right. So, you know, of course, Michael promises Walt that he'll get him out, and so, you know, Miss Clue says that not only do you have to release Ben, but you also have to bring all the people on this list.
He does figure out a plan to do that, and it definitely feels. I mean, I get that. I think it makes sense for them to just give specific orders because they don't want to mess around, but they need Jack. And they need somebody as leverage to make Jack do things.
Well, we heard we heard originally Ben's plan from when Paulo overheard them. Ben's plan was to get Jack, Kate, and Sawyer, but this list also includes Hurley. So there's something going on there.
Maybe there's more plans I don't know about, but because the thing is, I know that the surgery thing happens. Which, by the way, once I get close to it, the surgery just seems like it's a cool thing to do with the plot because you don't really expect Jack to do surgery, and then it's suddenly like, oh shit, now he's being tested on his real skill. That is a cool thing to write in. But anyway, I know the surgery's coming, but it would be foolish of me to expect the surgery to be the only important thing that happens.
It's complicated. We'll get there.
I just think I shouldn't assume that there couldn't be another reason they also want Hurley. Maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. But anyway, yeah. It seems like they don't need to be that specific to just have leverage for Jack, but okay.
Right.
And Michael says he wants the boat too, because he just wants to leave. And that was when I first started to think, is Michael just gonna get on the boat at the end and leave the plot because they want to get rid of Walt?
Well, Juliet shows up in a webisode right after this to say,
Yeah.
hey, you know, we cleared it all. You do what you were told and you'll get that boat.
Yeah. And I think they probably made this webisode just because they're like, oh yeah, once they thought of Juliet as a character for season 3, they would have been like, oh yeah, she was there, she could have talked to Michael, why don't we show that happening?
Right. I believe she also showed up in
nice
another
they're both-
scene with Michael earlier on in the camp, and that was also in a I can't remember if it was a webisode or a flashback, but they did that too.
She says that Walt is special, and then she says that she's glad Walt is gonna leave. And
Well, because we already saw she was saying everyone's afraid of Walt because he's so special.
But so, she says she's not the enemy and says Ben is very important. And I don't know. I expected Juliet's feelings toward Ben to be a little less he's important, he saved my sister, and a little more he's a creepy guy who is in love with me. But she makes the point about, oh, he saved my sister, yeah, I'd do anything for her just like you'd do anything for Walt. So I have a few things to say here. So first of all, this made me go on YouTube in an incognito tab, so my recommendations don't get messed with. But it made me go and rewatch the season 3 opening scene, which I already saw chronologically. and just appreciate the greater context of how impactful that must have been at the time. Because originally I just saw it as, oh, this has to be what first revealed that the others have the Dharma base. And now I understand how crazy it was that, like, you open up on some girl who seems like a suburban regular woman who is, like, cooking food, waking up, having her day, going to the book club.
Listening to a
and
CD
then all
player.
of a sudden, there's the plane crash, and it's above the island, and Ben is there, and you see Ben ordering Ethan and Goodwin to go infiltrate, and it's like, and then you see it's an Dharma base, like, holy shit, that must have been a lot.
It was quite the way to open a season.
Yeah, I mean, because I saw it in the context of, oh, Goodwin is some guy who works with chemicals who Juliet was in love with, and I guess Ben is sending him away. And, like, I saw it in that context, and it was a little strange, because Goodwin was just some guy. It's like, why would Ben choose him? But no, that was written in the context of, we already knew Goodwin, everything that happened to him, that he was an imposter, and this is just showing, like, how he was sent. And, like, that's just crazy. And, like everything with his romance and him being a chemical worker is, like, that was later backstory they wrote to flesh out who he was before he died. But it just, I'm glad I can appreciate more how insane it must have been.
Yeah. So then,
Yeah.
back in
Well,
the main island.
No, there's more takeaways I have from the Michael stuff.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know if Michael is actually gonna get to leave with Walt, and I say that because I think the writers want to get rid of Walt, and I think that they're gonna take this opportunity, but I also feel like, I also just feel like the others could very reasonably be lying to Michael when they say they'll let him leave with Walt. I would not put that past them at all. But it just makes me feel like, to begin with, I got kind of bored with Michael's character. And I love so much of his earlier stuff with Walt, and I love his backstories, but he has definitely just sort of devolved into somebody who is, like, so solely defined by just give me Walt back in a way that has gotten kind of old for me. And so in some sense, I was kind of ready for him to just maybe leave at the end of season 2 and be done with him, because I feel like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with how much they can do with Michael. And, like, before there was more potential when it was like, oh, Walt wants to stay on the island, maybe they'll just keep living here. But now that he's obsessed over saving Walt and getting away from the others, it's just like, yeah, he's just got to leave the island. What else can you do with him?
Yeah.
But, so then, that's also, I was thinking all of that before we got the ending to the next Chronologically Lost episode, which changes a lot of how I see Michael and also adds to that maybe he should just leave the plot now. But anyway, my final point is that I feel like season 2, not only does a lot of it spin its wheels, but a lot of it feels to me like it just takes us in this awkward circle. Because there's the whole setup intrigue of, oh shit, Walt is important, the others took Walt, and I don't think it was revealed yet, but I do know that, like, Jacob said Walt was important. So Walt is obviously, capital I, important. But then it turns out the others just want to get rid of him because everybody's scared of him and just want him gone, and maybe still some of the leaders still want to keep him, but either way, they agree to let him go, so it feels like there was this whole build-up of like, oh, why is Walt so important, what do the others want with him, but then in the end, Walt's purpose in the plot is to motivate Michael to work for the others, to do what they want, to get Jack to do Ben stuff. It just feels like there's all this setup that didn't really take us anywhere other than Michael and Walt are going to leave.
Yeah, again, this whole entire plot line is centered around the fact that child actors grow up real fast. Like, that's what this whole thing is.
I can't blame the writers for that, but it definitely just feels awkward.
So, anyway, back to the main plot here. We have Rose, who is a pantry now, and is organizing the food.
And Bernard is like, hey, why are we not questioning this? I was raised to question piles of food with weird labels that fall out of the sky. And let me just say, on this and a lot of things with this episode, I am Team Bernard.
Yeah, exactly. He has a lot of good points, and can you guess what the flashbacks for this one were?
You know, I have no idea.
Yeah, so it was the only Rose and Bernard flashbacks that we have.
Yeah. It was the flashbacks where they explicitly, in this episode, refer to the events that occurred in the flashback.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's notable. This is the only centric flashback that does not center around a main character. Technically, Desmond's flashbacks happened before he became part of the main cast, but then he became part of the main cast later, so...
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, obviously Desmond was important. But also there's the factor that, like, Rose and Bernard aren't main characters, but there was definitely that stuff. Like, in the first few episodes of Season 1, Rose was kind of a main character. And you told me, like, the actress just didn't like, working on the hot beach or something, so they used her less. But also, like, even if Rose and Bernard aren't main characters, Rose and Bernard getting to unite was, like, a significant enough thing in the plot that I feel like they justify a flashback.
Then Locke is trying and failing to sketch the UV map that he saw.
Because Radzinski is goddamn crazy.
Yeah. So then Jack is going to go, dress Ben's wounds again and say, "Hey, we're gonna trade you for Walt." And Ben says, "You'll never get Walt," which is like, I mean, technically, they will never get Walt, sure, but...
Yeah, but in the same, like, that's one of the awkward things about it. Like, they're acting like keeping Walt is something the others would never, change their mind on. But then, meanwhile, the others like, yeah, just get Walt away from us and give us Ben back.
So then Bernard is gathering people because he's going to want to go build this giant SOS sign, which obviously we know is not going to work, but...
Yeah, but it's not a bad idea.
Given the information he has, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. And also, I mean, this is a little later, but I think he messed up by saying they had to build it out of these specific volcanic rocks. Because sure, he's right that they contrast the sand the most, but they should have just done it out of wood, so it would be a lot less work.
Yeah, exactly.
Then people wouldn't have stopped working with him.
Yeah, so Jack is going to go to the line that the others told him not to cross, and he finally invites Kate with him, because...
Yeah.
Just finally, stop not inviting Kate to things, Jack.
See, it's like character development, but then he explains why to her later. And it's
because Saeed said no.
Because Saeed said no, and I know that the others don't want you because they gave you back, and it's like...
Which is also wrong, because we know that the others do want her, so...
Yeah. Kate was feeling happy with you. She was feeling like you were treating her better, and then you're like, oh no, it wasn't because I trust you, it was because you weren't my first choice and you weren't a valuable target. But of course, this is still a Jack and Kate shipping episode.
Yeah. So Bernard is, trying to tell the plan to all the people who he gathered, and just has Rose undercutting him at every turn.
And I mean, his logic makes sense for what they know. A plane did go above, and why not make a sign? Because once you have a sign, you don't have to do anything else with it. But Rose thinks it's false hope. And here's the thing. Jack is a surgeon, Bernard is a dentist. Both are medical professionals. And Jack had a whole thing in his flashbacks of needing to learn to have better bedside manner and give people hope. Instead of saying it's hopeless, just say, there's a chance, I'll do my best. I'm gonna make it happen. And, he needs... Because bedside manner, he mentioned while talking to Ben, he has bad bedside manner, but he had a whole thing of learning to give people hope. And Bernard is also he's a dentist, he understands bedside manner, give people hope, let's go take our chances. But now it's showing it he's wrong for that.
Well, that's because Rose says it's false hope.
I don't think it's that false. I think you gotta at least make the sign.
Yeah, anyway, so he tries to get Echo and Charlie to help, but they're like, no, we're busy building a church, and he's just like, okay, fucking, whatever.
You're building a church while I'm trying to get us rescued. I told you, I'm Team Bernard.
Yeah. So we have Locke mad that he can't recreate the map, and then starts yelling at Ben to be like, Did you really not enter the numbers? And
Ben played him like a fiddle.
Yeah.
I love Locke, but late season 2 Locke, I'm not that into it, because late season 2 Locke is two things. It's freaking out about whether he can trust Ben and whether Ben is right about the button, and it's this whole thing of whether or not he will actually trust and communicate with Jack, which I've talked about before. I don't think it's that interesting or that even in character for Locke and Jack.
Right. So anyway, most people have given up on the SOS sign, and Bernard just starts arguing with Rose over the whole situation.
Yeah, and she says that people are quitting because he's not managing them well, which is kind of true. But he says that she wouldn't be here if he didn't, work hard and not let things be, because he thinks that the cancer treatment worked.
Anyway, then we have a scene that just exists for Jack and Kate shipping purposes.
He picks up the trap and he tries to tackle her to save her, and instead gets caught with her pressed up against her in a net, where if he didn't try to save her, he would have been fine and could have just cut her down.
To be fair, the other traps we've seen are like rocks fall on you, or a spiky thing swings down. So
well, no, we've also seen traps.
Okay, I guess we saw Ben got caught in a net trap too. Okay, fine, but
anyway, yeah, this is just the writers couldn't help themselves, where it feels corny and entirely pointless. But I'll give them that.
But I do like Jack and Kate together, so I'm fine with it.
Yes, and we get way too much Kate and Sawyer shipping scenes, so it's nice that we get a little of this, where, okay, Jack is sexist towards Kate, but he's still better than Sawyer.
Oh, absolutely.
But anyway, she takes the shot, misses, he takes the shot, gets it, they fall down, we can move on.
Yeah, so then we have Bernard yelling at Jin, which, not going to win you any points there, bro.
We get Rose going to talk to Locke. I mean, I think he's sitting in her spot, and they just have this conversation where Locke is like, I'm done with the hatch. But he's like, the Rose tells him, like, something like he's going to heal faster, because they both know that the island is magic, because they know he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I feel like that does make sense, that's fair, but also I feel like the writers are going to use that as a reason to, like, not have to write Locke in crutches for too many episodes.
They're going to use this to explain why everyone's injuries heal so much faster. Like,
yeah. So they don't.
Well, to be fair, not everyone, just really important characters. They're special enough to get touched by it, or whatever the island magic.
Yeah, the island definitely does have a bias for special people, considering it made some special people time travel.
Well, it made everyone remember, it made all the randos on the beach time travel too. They just got shot by arrows.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh yeah, that's true. The island had them get shot by arrows. It knew.
Of course. So, yeah, Rose knows that Locke was paralyzed. And let me tell you this. She's not going to tell anyone.
Yeah, she's chill.
Yeah.
Rose has a good attitude.
Yeah, so Kate tells Jack everything about the staff. And he's like, why didn't you tell me sooner? And she's like, why didn't you tell me what the guy had locked up in the hatch? It's like,
see, like I went on a total 180 during that scene, because I was like, really? Nobody mentioned this until now? Seriously? And then she was like, I was going to tell you when you brought me back within the loop. And I was like, entirely fair, Kate.
Yeah, but guess what? With this and the whole net scene, guess who they're mad at? Kate. The fans are mad at Kate for all this.
Oh.
I know, right?
It's just ridiculous. This isn't that... We're not being weird here. This is entirely reasonable.
Yeah, they were both, like, they're both not doing great, like...
And also, that other base, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like she said, there was nothing you could use.
Yeah, it had medical facilities, but not medical equipment or supplies.
Right, which again, is still weird that they abandoned it, but...
Kate is reasonable here. Kate has been mistreated. Kate has been... Like, I've honestly, like, felt it has hurt the plot to some extent, that when interesting stuff is happening, Kate doesn't get to be there. Because she is one of, like, the core characters who is...
She's the female lead of the show, like...
Yeah. Like, I'm glad we're done with this whole leaving Kate out of things thing, and I hope it doesn't come back.
You know it's gonna come back. You know it is. It's... Anyway, so Jack yells for the others, but they're living far away from here, Jack.
It's me, your boy.
Anyway, so Rose finally tells Bernard that, she didn't get healed in Australia, she got healed on the island.
Yeah, and Bernard is a good man, so he's just immediately like, yep, no, we're staying here, I don't want to lose you.
Which, as we know from the whole time travel thing in the 70s, that's what they do. They just live there.
So, around the start of this plot line, I was kind of thinking, it's odd how Bernard really wants to leave, and yet I know during the 70s he is just fine chilling there, and yet this explains why, yeah. It's like, it's nice to see someone have their priorities straight.
Yeah, and so then we get a nice montage. We get Locke back to...
A nice montage? My reaction was, oh god, I thought when Hurley's music player broke we were done with these.
Okay, sure.
This song isn't as bad as some of the ones Hurley listened to.
Right, yeah. We get Locke back in the hat sketching. We have Charlie and Echo building. Then Jin and Sun, Claire and Aaron, Libby and Hurley. And Sawyer and Vincent as a really weird... I guess someone has to take care of Vincent now that Shannon's dead.
That felt to be like Sawyer just being like... Sawyer getting himself food and Vincent being like, yo, give me food. And Sawyer... His heart is not too cold to not give food to the adorable dog asking for some.
Right. And then, of course, Rose and Bernard. And then we have Jack and Kate, where Kate says, yeah, she's sorry she kissed him. And Jack's like, well, I'm not. Like...
Yeah.
To be fair, she was having like a mental breakdown when that happened, so...
I get that it's flirty that for him to say he's not, but maybe, like, don't act like you were happy she was having a mental breakdown.
Try to do it when one of you isn't hearing your dead, abusive father's voice in someone else.
Or seeing a horse.
Yeah.
Someone's coming, and we obviously, because chronological and that you've seen the show before, we know it's going to be Michael.
Yeah.
So here is another take about Michael that I had before I saw the ending to these episodes. I thought, I'm not mad at Michael. Like, I know he's going to screw them over and make the deal, but I'm not mad at him because I know it's coming. I know Jack has to end up doing the surgery, so like, and I know that's how he ends up there, so I'm fine with it.
To be clear, you're saying this, you're not mad at him for his plan to bring people there.
Yes. This is my thought before I saw the ending to these episodes.
Okay.
My thought was, I am not mad at him for the fact that he is going to lie to them and manipulate them, because he does want to get Walt back, he does want to leave, and I've kind of just accepted ages ago that that's something that needs to happen in the plot.
Right.
This is what I thought before some other things happen.
Yeah. So even Jack thinks that this whole scenario is fishy. It's not adding up.
Oh yeah. So then Ana Lucia offers Ben some food, and she says like, yeah, it's a cop, and I know killers love to talk. And my reaction was, oh, so you love to talk? But then Ben calls her on it too, and Ben seems legitimately really angry that she killed Goodwin, when Ben was happy that Goodwin died.
Again, later, she says, I killed him. It was like, self-defense. He was going to kill me. And he's kind of playing mind games like, was he? And it even makes me think, because I pay attention during the scene. It's like, he had the knife, he had everything. He could have attacked her way earlier. He could have attacked her, way before this on the walk up to the mountain. And
well, he did like her.
And he says, again, it's so hard to know with things that Ben says that can't be verified by a third party.
Yeah.
And, because even before, he was telling Juliet, Goodwin's making a case for this woman, Ana Lucia. And it's like,
yeah.
I was going to say, it's like, is that real? Or is that something he's just telling Juliet to, try and make her not like Goodwin anymore? And yeah. I want to believe that because Goodwin did seem to like Anna, at least, they portrayed it that way. I mean, I think he really was trying to make a case for her.
Oh yeah, I think so. But here's the thing. Ben is still a total hypocrite because he's like, you're a terrible person, honestly. You're a killer. You weren't, we were never going to accept you even though Goodwin wanted you because you weren't good enough. And it's like, okay, being a killer would make you fit in with the others perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, have you not
remember when the
Goodwin
others gassed
and
an entire,
Ethan?
like, colony of people in order to take over
Yes.
their house? Anyway, before any of this, he's whispering and just straight up tries to kill her. Like,
Oh, yeah.
so he has no legs to stand on.
And anyway, yeah, Locke gets him, and, you know, I really like that we didn't get a plot of, like, Locke still trusting him.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to trust someone when he starts just strangling someone to death. Like,
Yeah. So then, Libby, we get a scene where Libby tells Ana Lucia, you know, don't do anything stupid.
yeah. Any
Unfortunately,
idea what
Ana
the
Lucia-
flashbacks were for this one?
Probably an Ana Lucia flashback.
Yep.
Which one?
There's only 2, so...
So we already got her with you know, killing that guy, so I guess this was her with Jack's dad.
Yes, this is her and Christian.
Huh. See, now I'm sad, because now we never... Now, do we get... I don't think we ever got Jack and Ana Lucia talking about how she knew his dad.
Nope.
That kind of sucks. Alright, well, that means I am counting on Jack and Claire having a conversation.
Well, that would... Claire doesn't even know Christian's name. That's very hard too.
Well, they still haven't found the body, maybe?
That's true. That is true. You know, one thing I will say, because obviously Ana Lucia is going to die at the end of this episode, is, you know, I think even though she only lasted 1 season, I think it was fine for her to die because I think she had her full character arc, as you can see in this flashback.
I want to talk about that when we get to it.
Okay.
But I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So they have Ben tied down in a more fancy way now where he can't choke nobody. And Ben forgives Locke for hitting him with his crutch. And Ben says that Locke is one of the good ones, which, come on. Others are killers, so Ana Lucia would be a good one. But this, I don't think this was foreshadowing, but it's definitely interesting knowing that somehow, through events I can't imagine, Locke gets named as a leader of the others.
Right, and Ben says, oh, my mission was to come get you. Which, again, I have to think, so, if this is true, which just, again, it's something that Ben says, so... again, we know that they know Locke is special because he is no longer paralyzed, right?
That's true.
And they wanted Walt because Walt was special. Anyways, it's like you had a scenario where you had Locke and Jack and Kate and Sawyer held up at gunpoint. You could have just taken them then. You didn't need this whole charade. Like, come on now.
I almost could believe that they would just try to take Locke and say, hey, come join us, because Locke is so obsessed with the island being special that I would honestly think, like, if the others came to him and said, yeah, we believe it's special too, come with us to do important things, I feel like he would agree.
He absolutely would. Like, anyway, so then we have Ana Lucia trying to get a gun from Sawyer.
She calls him out for being jealous of Jack spending time with Kate.
Yeah, which is...
True.
It's 100% true.
Hurley wants to do that fucking holding up a boombox thing for Libby, and Saeed is just like, dude, just take her to the beach. And, you know, if he did the boombox thing, that might have turned out better.
Saeed just needed to give a better direction to that beach.
Yeah. Or, okay, this is irrelevant, but we haven't seen Saeed much in these episodes.
Again, we come here and he's like digging some kind of hole, and it's like, I was like, I forget what he's digging this hole for. Again, maybe it'll come up in a later episode, but I don't remember, and it doesn't come up again.
I don't think he's, him digging a hole when Hurley comes to talk to him has the exact same energy of when there's like a Law and Order episode and they need to talk to somebody who's like who's like a waitress, and the waitress just keeps like wiping tables while giving them information. Or we need to talk to somebody who works in a warehouse, and whoever is giving them information like keeps stacking stuff into a truck while talking to them.
Yeah, I guess I just needed to show Saeed doing something. So then we have Locke, who thinks, hey, they gave us Michael back. That's probably the trade. We can just give this guy back now, which is like insane.
Why would you do that? You don't give him back. They give up their leverage. That's their problem.
Well, to be fair, I think Walt is their main leverage.
Yeah.
And they're... So, Anna, again, tries to get the gun and even tries to attack Sawyer to get it. And that fails, so she sleeps with him to get it.
They end up being horny.
I don't think she was horny. She was just trying to get that gun.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually surprised that, Sawyer didn't notice until way later that she took it.
I feel like Sawyer would be so self-aggrandizing to feel like, oh, she really just wanted to sleep with me that whole time.
Yeah, he is self-aggrandizing, he's horny, but he's also a con man, and I feel like it's kind of an obvious trick.
True, but, again, he goes for the longer con. She went for the immediate short con. Sleep with him, take something, get out. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Sawyer, this was... It's dumb for them to have sex, but it's very in character.
This feels like an executive producer saying, you need to spice up this episode.
Yes, but it is still Ana Lucia would successfully trick him that way, and Sawyer would just be like, okay, I guess we're having sex.
Right.
Because Sawyer is horny.
Yeah, so then Libby catches Hurley packing for the picnic, which is this whole storyline is so tragic knowing how it ends.
So then Ana Lucia finds out that Michael's back, and she and Locke don't tell the truth about how she got injured. And we finally get Michael waking up and giving some story of complete bullshit.
Well, to be fair, some of it is true. He just talks about the fake camp he saw, which for all he knows is real.
Yeah.
But he lies about, he's like, he says he didn't see Walt, and he says he didn't see any of the other kids, which is true. He only saw Walt, but...
Yeah. But he's bullshitting about... I mean, he says that he just followed one of them.
Right, and then to kind of end this whole... or at least to try and end this whole drama for now, is Jack just tells Locke, you were right. You made the right call in the...
And I would be fine with being done with Jack and Locke not communicating.
Yeah, too bad for you.
They want to do a rest... Oh, yeah. So I had an idea. And this is what I'm talking about when I say, just because I know that Jack will do the surgery doesn't mean that's the only important thing that will happen. What is Locke going to do when that's happening? And so this is a random... I don't, think this is likely. I think there's so many possibilities. But just as one guess, Jack and, the gang do need to get rescued after they do the surgery. What if Locke leads a rescue mission?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh, that's a suspicious answer. I didn't think that was that likely of a guess.
Anyway,
well, you also could be screwed.
No, he's gonna be. There's a lot of stuff he's doing in the beginning of season 3. I'm not saying it's all interesting, and I'm not saying it's all good, but it is stuff that he does.
Oh boy, well, that's all you can really say for it sometimes.
Yeah. So they decide, okay, we're gonna go get the guns from Sawyer because, as Jack said, when we need the guns, we'll get the guns. Cool. Then Hurley is lost. He can't find the beach, and he didn't bring blankets or drinks. Libby says, I'll go get the blankets, which...
You get the wine. And you know what's iconic? The fact that Hurley gets an awkward thumbs up from Jin.
Well, it's Tamir, the one that he gave to Jin all those episodes ago. Anyway, then we have the most pointless fucking webisode.
But it was funny.
To be fair, I guess you could find it funny. I know it's not funny because I know it's going to happen in 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
And of course the producers know because this was made after season 3.
Yes. I thought it was funny at the time. Thinking about how the producers would write this after they have killed off Libby. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Neil time is a joke. But Sawyer's reading a manuscript. Jack
just throws it in the fire.
That's kind of going pretty far.
Yeah, to be fair, I was like, threatened to throw it in the fire first. And then if he doesn't comply, throw it in.
Like, you could get him to comply and still not screw... Like, come on, you gotta know who done it. Come on.
Right. To be fair, they actually did release that book in real life. Because it's an in-show product. Apparently, it's not very good.
Not surprising. Anyway, Ana Lucia is going in to kill Ben, and she gives him a knife to cut himself free, and then is about to shoot him.
But Ben doesn't.
It cuts to her it cuts to her just holding the gun, and it's like, yeah, she didn't kill him. Oh yeah, when she was pointing the gun, I was almost thinking that Michael would come at her from behind and knock her out. Unfortunately, Michael is too stupid to just knock people out.
Yes. So Anna tells Michael about it. It's like, he tried to kill me and I couldn't do it. And she even says, I can't keep doing this because it does feel like she's really come full circle. She, just ruthlessly killed that guy instead of doing a legal method. And then
she got that guy who took a 2-hour shit killed.
Yes, right. Can't forget about him. And
he had a red shirt, right?
He did. He did have a red shirt.
Anyway, yeah, she got that guy killed.
And now it feels like... she accidentally killed Shannon. And it feels like she really is like, I need to... need to stop being so trigger happy. I need to cool down.
It's a very complete character arc because it has like a good progression and like meaningful steps.
It's especially when it's coupled with the flashback, which ends with her calling her mother and saying she wants to come home. Like,
yeah, like she was effectively written. Now Libby, I mean, let's be real. Libby is not that interesting of a character, and she doesn't really have an arc. She just exists for Hurley.
To be fair, people thought she would have an arc until she got shot.
You totally could write her an arc.
Because it's like oh, she was in the mental hospital with Hurley. What happened to her? I wonder when we'll find that out.
Yeah,
and then
you could write her an arc, but she didn't have one that got interrupted. But also so on one hand, you could write way more relationship development between her and Hurley. On the other, and it feels like, man, they can't let people be happy. When there's a nice relationship, they have to kill one of them, because that's what they did to Saeed and Shannon.
Except for Rose and Bernard. Rose and Bernard can stay.
Oh, yeah. If they did that, how fucking dare they?
Or, that would be with Jin and Sun, they don't kill them, they just send one of them away.
But see, doing something to Rose and Bernard would be like killing Vincent.
Exactly, yeah.
With Libby, it's I can at least see that, you set up the love, and then you take one of them away, because then that'll make things more interesting for Hurley. I mean, it's also just... It's a bit of a shame to just use the female character as a plot device to make character arc happen for the male character. But I'll still give it, that is at least a narrative purpose, that, this is gonna be something interesting to see Hurley process.
Yeah,
So, with all of that in mind, this is not, a Shannon tier mistake. It was shocking, and at first I was like, what the fuck? But they are reasonably written enough character deaths.
Yeah, it's...
But it's still
Michael,
the fact
that Michael shot them, just...
oh my fucking god. Okay, I had another take on Michael's character. I've had so many of these episodes. But another take I had was that one of the reasons I started to find Michael a little boring is because he is so singularly obsessed with, I need to get Walt back, where I enjoyed Michael a lot when we saw his friendships with everybody else, especially his friendship with Jin. And it kind of just felt like he abandoned all of those to solely fixate on Walt. And that was just, believable but boring to me. And it felt like, wow, yeah, he would just betray everybody else to get Walt. And now it's oh, he would fucking shoot people for Walt. I can no longer condone this.
I can see his logic in shooting Ana Lucia. Of course, Libby, the way you see it, it's more of a reflex. He doesn't seem to plan.
Libby, that is a heat of the moment panic move.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What he could have done is he says, oh, I'll do it. I'll go shoot Ben. What he then could do is...
point the gun at Ana Lucia.
Is open the safe, get Ben out, point the gun at Lucia, and say,
And just say,
hey, I need these people. Like, come on. Like...
yeah. Like, okay, that's dangerous. Okay, we do see that the final shot is him shooting himself in the arm, so it seems like he's gonna frame Ben and pretend that he was a victim.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could literally just, like, point the gun at Ana Lucia and at Libby and get the people. Or you could literally just, like, knock Ana Lucia out. Okay, I'll give it that. Yeah, you kind of have to surprise her because she's probably a better fighter than him. But still, like, knock her out. Or just, like, the fact that he just jumped to killing is just, like... Okay, he's been through some shit. He has been through some shit. So I get that his decisions right now are not the most rational. But it's still just like, what the fuck, Michael?
Yeah. And so there's a conspiracy around what happened here.
I've said also one last thing. I want to say one last thing. I can acknowledge that, like, killing Ana Lucia and Libby is not like a Shannon level waste, but it is still like I would have liked to see more with them. Libby didn't have that much going on, and Ana Lucia had a complete character arc, but I do feel like just I still like there are a bunch of characters who Ana Lucia we don't see her relationship with them to that much, and I would have liked to see her interact with them more and, like, develop more relationships. And same with Libby. I feel like there's a ton of characters we don't see how she acts around. There is still potential that is lost here, but sometimes that is, I mean, death still does happen. There is missed potential as a natural part of life.
So there's a conspiracy around this sort of episode. So before this episode came out, both Michelle Rodriguez and Libby's actress Cynthia Watros, they both got DUIs in Hawaii, and it's thought that they killed them because they killed the characters on the show because of that. Now here's the thing, and especially because this episode was titled "Two for the Road," like it, you know.
Wait, whoa, that would be. I mean, it's one thing to decide.
Here's the thing. This was like 15 years ago. Again, TV was not that big 15 years ago. Michelle Rodriguez is a movie star. She has explicitly said, no, it was always my intention I would do one season and that's it, and then I go back to movies. So her thing was always planned. So people thought, okay, maybe it was Libby's actress, but it doesn't matter because the episode had already been filmed and edited by the time they got their DUIs. The DUIs happened way after filming. The timeline doesn't match up. But this rumor persisted because when this rumor started getting out, is the Lost executives and the Lost writers and everything, they specifically didn't say no to it because they wanted there to be that fear in their actors to be like, hey, you better behave in Hawaii or we will kill off your characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to drink and be a drunk. It's another thing to drive under the influence. That is really not something you should do.
Yeah, but, like, come on, they got a movie star. They're not going to kill her off because of that. Like,
yeah.
she leaves when she wants to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wow, this is so. This has been a wham episode, I think.
I think we talked for a while. We had a lot to say.
Yeah, so I hope you'll join us next time where we will be covering episode 56, November 24th to the 25th, and episode 57, November 25th to the 27th.